Hi everyone, welcome to the Rugby League History channel, coming to you live from Hull, the home of Hull FC and Hull Kingston Rovers. Yes, Rugby League History is on the road. I'm working away at the moment and I'm staying in Hull. So this one's a special Round 20 NRL 2021 tipping video coming to you live from Humberside. So last week I had another good week with the tipping, but we'll see how we go this week with the tips. Round 20, we're getting to the business end of the year, and we'll start with the first game, which is kicking off on the Thursday night. It's between Eastern Suburbs and Parramatta, or as you know them as the Sydney Roosters, up against Parramatta. This one's being played at Mackay. I've been to Mackay myself a couple of times. Very small town, not really much to do there, but that's beside the point. So East at the moment, once again, as I've said for many weeks in a row, I sound like a broken record. They're losing player after player and they keep turning up. And it looks like they're going to be without Matt Ikuvalu and Billy Smith for this game. And for Parramatta, they had the disappointing loss against Canberra last week. I think that was down to Mitchell Moses not being there. They looked very flat in attack. And it was a very disappointing and very embarrassing loss for Parramatta. When you look at the head-to-head between the two clubs, Eastern Suburbs have a great record against Parramatta. And for this game, I'm going to go for the upset. Even though Parramatta's higher on the table, I will go for Eastern Suburbs to win this game between 1 to 12 points on the Thursday night. The first game on the Friday sees West Tigers up against New Zealand. And this one is being played at Suncorp Stadium. So for West Tigers, they had a disappointing loss against Manly last week, and New Zealand have officially lost 7 games in a row. They lost to South Sydney, a very big defeat by them. They've also had Roger Tuivasa-Sheck play his last game for the club. They got a multitude of injuries throughout the entire club. I thought that even though West Tigers did lose last week, they showed a lot of heart, and they did score a few points against Manly. And I will go for West Tigers to win this game on the Friday, 1 to 12 points over New Zealand. The main game on the Friday, and it's one of the biggest matches on the NRL calendar. It's one of the biggest matches in terms of rivalry in the NRL. It sees Brisbane up against North Queensland. This one's also being played at Suncorp Stadium. I watched the game last week between Brisbane and Penrith. Brisbane showed a lot of heart in that game. They were down 18-0, but they come back and they had a chance to draw the match. For North Queensland, they also showed a lot of heart in their loss. I think that both sides will be coming to this game raring to go. It's one of the biggest rivalries in the NRL. With Brisbane, though, being the home side, and I'm pretty sure they haven't forgotten last year that it was North Queensland that gave them the wooden spoon. And with it being a rivalry derby match and with form going out the window, I will go for Brisbane to win. I think they know that they just need 1 to 2 wins and then it'll consign Canterbury Bankstown to the wooden spoon. And I think they know that if they can get a win over North Queensland, it's going to push them further away from that wooden spoon. And I will go for Brisbane to win this match by about 6 points. I think this game will be very close. Most matches between Brisbane and North Queensland are close, and I'll go for Brisbane to win on the Friday night. The first game on the Saturday sees St George up against South Sydney. This is one of the oldest rivalries you could see in the NRL. Both clubs don't like each other. Both clubs go back a very long way. They've played in grand finals. They've done all sorts throughout their history. St George, though, they find themselves in a bit of a hole at the moment, all down to Paul Vaughan's barbecue. There's been a chain reaction following from that. South Sydney are currently in 3rd place at the moment, playing very well. Scored 60 points against New Zealand. I think they've won about 7 or 8 games in a row. I'm not too sure. I forgot to bring a pen with me in my notepad, so I don't have any notes for this tipping video, but that's just going off the top of my head. There's always a lot of feeling when it comes in these matches between St George and South Sydney. You have to remember that in around about 2000, St George wrote a letter to the NRL saying that if South Sydney were readmitted to the competition, that would be detrimental to the NRL. So plenty of feeling there between South Sydney and St George. For this game though, I will go for South Sydney to win 13 plus over St George. I think that South are playing better at the moment. St George are in all sorts, and they got players suspended. They got a few things going against them, so I'll go for South Sydney to win 13 plus. The second match on the Super Saturday is between Newcastle and Canberra. This is an interesting game because Newcastle were looking like they were coming back with a bit of a resurgence, and they've had a couple of injuries. Canberra looked dead and gone about a month ago, but they've strung together 3 wins, and they only found themselves 2 points outside the top 8. Both sides have got some injury concerns going into this match, but I believe Mitchell Pearce and David Clemmer are going to be back for this match for Newcastle. And for Canberra, they've got a couple of players that are touch and go, but in terms of form and I think how they've been playing, especially last week, how Canberra defended, I will go for Canberra to win this game. I'll go for Canberra to win 1-12 on the Super Saturday over Newcastle. The main game and I think the match of the round in everyone's books sees Melbourne against Penrith. This is the grand final rematch from last year. Penrith won earlier in the year. Melbourne have a lot of players coming back for this game. Penrith is still without Nathan Cleary. I think these two sides overall have been the best two sides all year. But there's one thing about this match that I think is really going to hurt Penrith, and that's the fact that Nathan Cleary is still out. And you can look at teams in the past, and you can look at clubs. Okay, you can have a winger that gets injured. You can have a centre that gets injured. You can fix that problem. Maybe a front rower goes down injured. But when it's your halfback and when it's your star player in Nathan Cleary, I think it's really hurt Penrith. Because even though they're scoring points, they still look a bit flat in attack. And I think Nathan Cleary is the star player for Penrith. I think he's their best player. And even though Melbourne have had injuries in the past, I think they've had all the key players there to fill in. And with Nathan Cleary out for this game, unfortunately, and I'm going to have to go for Melbourne to win. I think Melbourne will win 1-12. It will be a tight match, I feel. But with Nathan Cleary not being there, I think it's really going to hurt Penrith. But hopefully he's back for the finals. The first match on Sunday sees Canterbury Bankstown up against the Gold Coast. So the Gold Coast retained the winning ways last week, and Canterbury had that loss against Cronulla, even though it finished 44 points to 24. Canterbury did show some art in that second half. But for this match, I have a feeling that it's going to be a very high-scoring game again. And what the Gold Coast have shown throughout the year is that their defence isn't that great, but their attack is usually pretty spot on. They do seem to score a lot of points. And the fact that Canterbury's defence is shite, I think this will probably be another game where it finishes 40 points to 30 or 44-24 like we saw last week. So I will go for the Gold Coast to win 13 plus over Canterbury, but I think it'll be a very high scoring game. And then the final game to close out the rounds, and it's another massive rivalry game. It's the Battle of the Beaches. It's between Manly Warringah and Cronulla Sutherland. So historically, Manly have always had the wood over Cronulla. Manly have a superior record in this rivalry game, and if the NRL was to stop tomorrow and we were to have a final series, this would be a finals match because it pits 6th against 7th. But looking at both sides and how they've been playing throughout the entire year, I'm going to have to go for Manly in this game. I think Manly's going to win 13 plus. I think just with the squad and the roster that Manly have got, I think it's better than Cronulla's. And I think the way that Manly's been playing, especially over the last 1 or 2 months, has been better than Cronulla. So I'm going to have to go for Manly. I don't have a choice in this one. I'm going to go for Manly to win 13 plus. Anyways, that's my video for round 20 of the NRL 2021 Telstra Premiership. It's an unscripted video. I'm away from home at the moment. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, let me know in the comment section below. Anyways, this is Rugby League History signing off, and hopefully the next time I see you, I'll be back home. Alright, tie bye now.